You know, for the most part, when I'm shading, I'm using just a regular pencil, and I am using a Q-tip. This is, you know, stuff that a lot of you guys have at home. Only difference between what I'm doing here and maybe something that, you know, we have in class is just shading pencils. A couple of different shading tools that we might have that you don't have at home, but for the most part, I'm trying to use what you have available. So, we're talking about shading. Talking about LMD. Lights, mediums, and darks. And if you remember, you have things, these value scales that kind of go from light to dark that way, right? And for the most part, when I'm shading in, I like to start with like a light gray value. So what I'll do is I will maybe somewhere in this area, light gray, I'll start off with that, and then I will build up and darken up my dark areas, and then I will take an eraser and erase out any parts that are like super light. So for example, if I'm kind of looking at this heart, you know, first thing I'm going to do is with my pencil using the side of the lead, I'm going to add a light gray value to it. And I'm using these strokes that are kind of circular this way, right? I'm holding my pencil by the end. That way it's not super dark. Because all I want is a light gray value, not something too dark. Because then if I have to erase something out, if it's too dark, then it won't erase completely out. And I'm just going to do this little part of the heart, and just to give you an idea of what I do. Looks like I had some stuff on the back of my paper. Next thing I'll do is I usually take some sort of blending tool. So for this one, I'm going to use this Q-tip. And I am going to blend this into a nice smooth tone. This is a nice light gray value that I'm blending it to, smoothing it to with this Q-tip. And when I'm using the Q-tip, I'm not pressing down too hard, just regular pressure. I'm not pushing down too hard. I'm letting the cotton from the Q-tip actually move the graphite around. All right, so that is my mid-tone. So the next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna look at my picture, and pretty much what I see in this picture, it goes from dark on the edge, and as it goes towards the center of the heart, it gets lighter. And then it has like this highlight on the top here and a highlight on this top. So what I can do is I can shade this in like I normally would, and then once I'm done, I can come in with my eraser and erase out that highlight. So for this one, darker on the edges, and I'm kind of using more of my point now because I'm getting a little bit darker. Remember, if you want a darker value, it might be better to use the point of your pencil. You know, whenever you want to do a lighter value, that's when you would get into using the side of the lead. Darker point, lighter side. And then all this does, from what I see, is that it kind of fades from dark to light going in towards the middle. Bless you.
Thank you.
So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, as I go towards the middle, ease up on the pressure. And build it up that way. Now this would be kind of like my first, like my rough draft, my first take at it. But I can still refine this. Like between this dark edge and the next gray level, there's like a separation. You can see a hard line. So I don't want to see that hard line. So I'm going to keep going in here and I'm going to blend this. Now, as far as using like the tools like the Q-tip to blend this into a nice even tone, I usually only like to use that when I am doing like my ground tone for the paper. Once I start building up my layers, I don't like to use those blending tools. So all I'm doing is I'm coming back in here with my actual pencil, and I'm trying to create that nice blend just with the pressure for my pencil, not necessarily using any of the blending tools. I think, in my personal opinion, that your work looks much better if you take the time to do pencil work instead of just like trying to smudge it or trying to blend it with certain tools. Like I said, those tools are great for certain situations, but once I'm at a point that I have a mid-tone gray, and now I'm trying to build up my values, then I'm gonna try to do that as much as I can just with the pencil work by the pressure that I'm applying to the pencil itself. I'm just gonna kind of do this area right here, just so you can kind of see. The other thing I can do is I can change directions. I can go a little bit, change directions of my pencil. And just try to show that gradual blend. And I'm seeing my paper and just seeing where I need more value, where I need less value, and just using my pencil as a way to put that gray down. And my hand and my brain are working together because there's some areas that I'm pressing down. There's some areas that I'm releasing the pressure, and all that is happening all together at once. But anyway, that's kind of how I would work this picture. Like I said, I only did this small section so you could see, but that's kind of how I would work this. The other thing you might notice is that I drew the heart itself and I drew the wings, but I didn't draw any of the shapes that are in the background, because if you look at the picture, the shapes, all those little twirly shapes, are probably the darkest on the picture. So what I'll do then, I will come back at the end and draw those in, and not worrying about them right now. But anyway, that's that part. Last thing I'll do is I'll come in here and erase out that highlight. And that'll be my heart done. Like I said, I just did this little piece, and you can kind of see what it looks like once I'm done. All right.